Thank you for tuning in to part 2 of Trending with the Tribune. I'm your host, Khalees Steffens, and we will continue to discuss the India Association of Nashville with President Srivatsan Pallavaram. Wow, it seems like y'all have a lot going on in the Nashville community.
Yes.
What about educational wise? Like, do y'all give back as far as education to young adults or any students?
Right, so we are now starting to look at doing some sponsorships in terms of small scholarships, and that is something very important to us. We have a couple of members on the committee who have access to the metro schools and know the needs of the metro schools quite a bit, and we have already initiated efforts in that direction. So we're trying to identify in what best way we can contribute to kids. I was told one of the things we could do is in public schools, kids have a need for not just education but food, especially during summer when the school is not in session. And we're trying to assess which of those problems we should address as the highest priority. So we definitely have interest in education. But one thing we're doing along with education this year, which will be a first time we would do this, is a health fair for the greater Nashville community. The Indian community stereotypically is filled with physicians and engineers. And having access to so many highly accomplished physicians enables us to do something of a grander scale to help with health and health education in Nashville. So, led by Dr. Jayesh Patel, who was a former president of the India Association of Nashville, along with Dr. Pramod Vasudev, Dr. Rudra Prakash, and many others, we are now working towards a health fair that will be open to the general public and will be facilitated completely by Indian physicians. And we're hoping to do that. Actually, we blocked the date, and it's going to be November 11th this year at the Sri Ganesha Temple, and will be open to the entire Nashville community.
Can you explain your vision for 2017? I know it's basically the end of the year now, but what was your main vision this year? Yeah,
I think we had a few different aspects we wanted to definitely go after and make clear to the community at large. The first one was we wanted to address diversity within the Indian community, which is a microcosm of diversity in America. And so our goal from that standpoint was to make diversity our strength, and that can only happen by coming together. So the purpose of that community integration subcommittee is to make sure that no language barrier, no cultural barrier, no religious barrier gets in the way of the entire Indian demographic coming together to exchange ideas and actually do something for ourselves and for the Nashville community. So one of those aspects was community integration. And fortunately, we made good strides in that, and we're going to continue to build on that momentum. The other aspect was that we wanted to do giving back to the community, which was a success so far with the efforts for Open Table Nashville, which we're trying to build upon with the health fair that is coming up, as well as I think towards education and homelessness. So along those lines, we would be continuing to contribute towards giving back to the community. The third aspect that we wanted to focus on was to bring a little bit of light back upon the classical arts, the traditional folk and classical arts that as Indians we take pride in our roots to India. And so this year at the Independence Day event, we had a big showcase on traditional art forms like Bharatanatyam and Kathak and Indian classical music and folk dance like Bhangra and Gidda and others of that kind. So that was another shift this year over the last years, is to bring back, to focus and shed more light on the classical arts. And the last thing we wanted to work on was some sort of political engagement, but in the sense of only letting the people in policy making know who we are, what we can do, how we can help, and what we need. So the real focus has only been to let the people in policy know about the presence of the Indian demographic, how they would like to contribute to the Nashville community, and how they can be of value to policy making. And so along those lines, we've made progress as well. And that's why we're working with other non-profits and inviting members of the Tennessee General Assembly and so on to continue to make an effort in that direction. So our goal is, in the next few years, to have a few candidates of Indian origin taking positions in the school boards, taking positions in the councils, taking positions in the General Assembly, and all that kind. So that's our fourth aspect.
Is there other India associations in other parts of America?
Yes, pretty much every major city has its own India Association. Now, Nashville is the only major city, I think, within about a 150-200 mile radius with a prominent India Association. But Memphis has a big community and they have their own India Association. For Chattanooga, there is one as well, but people from Chattanooga and Clarksville, they also look up to Nashville because there's a lot more people here and the Indian Association is privileged and active. But Atlanta has many associations, and so most big cities in the US have their own India Associations.
So do y'all travel and give back to those communities as well, or is it mainly the Nashville community?
Right. So within the constraints of the immigrant population, being able to contribute locally is a significant goal. And so if every association in the country can do the same, and which many of them do already, that is about a significant contribution as you can make. Now I think on the other side of that, what we would really like for is over the next few years to have conversations among all these India associations across the United States.
Like
and
a
so,
conference?
Like a conference,
Yeah.
yes. And so I think that would be a dream, and I think we can make that happen. But start with a few cities in the neighborhood like Atlanta and Memphis and Nashville and Chattanooga to have a conference that is just within this region, so that each India association can use the resources of other associations and can also give back to the other cities. And by doing that, I think every city will be better and every association will be better for themselves.
Just to remind our viewers watching, what else should we be looking forward to for the remaining of this year?
Yeah. So just last week, this past weekend, we had a workshop, an informational session by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. It was by Ann Hackett, who is a community relations officer for USCIS. And the purpose of that workshop or informational session was to enable people in the community to know their rights and to educate them on how they can go through the naturalization process. So on one side, we're going to continue to serve our community this way. Then the health fair coming up on November 11th is going to be the Indian community opening it up to the greater Nashville community. And then towards the end of October, I'm willing to say October 28th, we will have a huge fun evening. It'll be a festival called Diwali, which is a festival of lights, which really represents the victory of good over evil. And so that is another huge occasion when we all come together, and that will be a gala night. So we'll have a roundtable dinner, we'll have a DJ coming in, and we'll have lots of Indian music and dance all night. And then the health fair comes along, and after that we have the homeless lunch with loaves and fishes, which is right here in downtown. So somewhere around the Christmas weekend, the Indian Association, along with its members and other affiliates, will go in, will prep the food, cook the food, serve food, and then clean up. We'll wash all the dishes and clean everything up. And so we do that 4 times a year, and the biggest one is during Christmas. And so from there, I think we will lead into, before or after that, a few sports events. We're trying to hopefully do volleyball, racquetball, squash, some tracks perhaps. And then we have this thing called caroms. Have you heard of carom boards or caroms?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very popular in India. We all grew up playing that. So we'll probably have a small tournament for caroms. And then finish off the year with another big party for the New Year's Eve, bringing everybody together and discussing what we've achieved and where we would like to go. And most of all, we would like to build upon this vision of giving back to Nashville more and more as we go forward, but giving back not as India Association of Nashville alone, but as this community integration subcommittee with leaders of all associations of Indian origin coming together, pooling their resources and giving back to greater Nashville. So that's where I think we would all see the vision to expand on over the next year.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we conclude?
Yeah, I think the one thing I'd like to add is for us, it is a responsibility and an opportunity as the India Association of Nashville to not only bring everyone together, but then to convey this message of diversity, inclusivity, and unity to the greater Nashville community. We want the greater Nashville community to know that the Indian immigrant population from India is sincerely committed to the values of America. And we want to be part of this beautiful country and give more and more to America because America has given us so much. And so that is the message that I think we all want to communicate is We want to assimilate in this culture and this community while keeping our roots and wearing them with pride, but then giving back to America, because what we have today in many of our personal lives is significantly because of what America has given us. So that's what I would like to say.
Well, you really, really impressed me with your organization, and I'm really looking forward to what you all have to come. So just for our viewers' sake, is there any way we could keep up with you through social media or through a website, just about what you guys have been doing in the community?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I say that, let me thank a few people. Let me begin by thanking the Tennessee Tribune for having me here and for letting us get the message out for the Indian community. I want to thank you, Khalees, for a very nice and friendly interview. I want to thank your boss, Rosetta Perry, for the opportunity, and Renuka Christoph. Renu is a great friend, and she's been tremendously helpful for the Indian community, and I want to thank Renu for getting us here. You can certainly find information about the Indian community in Nashville on iantn.org. That is India Association of Nashville, Tennessee. iantn.org. And on Facebook, you can find our page by searching for India Association of Nashville. We also have a Facebook group. It's called the Indians in Middle Tennessee. And people can certainly send us an email at iantn.org. And I'd also like to thank, before we conclude, members of my team. My Vice President Rajni Gupta, General Secretary Sujana Gunugantla, Treasurer Atul Malhotra, Executive Committee members Shalini Dikshit, Adarsh Ravindran, Praveen Lokhande, and all the members of the Functional Committee of India Association of Nashville, whose names you can find on our website, as well as all the community leaders of all the regional Indian associations in Nashville. We have over 20 of those organizations. So my thanks to all of those leaders who are our partners, and to all members of the Indian community and the Nashville community at large. A big thank you from India Association of Nashville.
Well, thank you again, President Sri, for your time, and thank you guys for tuning in with Trending with the Tribune. Until next time.